from Cleveland, Ohio. And you're listening to Barbecue Central.
Yay! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Good evening and welcome to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things important to the world of barbecue and grilling. The show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here for your Tuesday evening's live fire fun and frivolity show. If you want to jump in on the show this evening, here's how you do that.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com, including the ability to sign up for the newsletter, which I will reference here in just 1 second. So if you want to get a heads up on what's going to be happening later in the show that Tuesday, you can sign up for the newsletter right on the homepage. Just need an email. I don't need anything else, and I don't sell it to anybody unless a really good deal comes along, and then I will sell it. But to date, I have not sold it, and it's been years and years since I've had an email list. So know for now that your most personal email is currently safe and on lockdown. But at any moment, could be sold to the highest bidder. Caveat emptor when it comes to the newsletter for the Barbecue Central Show. In case you aren't signed up for it, and now you know where to do that, coming up at 14 past the hour this past weekend, I was the emcee at the Hartville Hardware 2022 Grillfest, and we'll recap it all. Me and you together with microphones and speakers. We'll talk it out. I will explain everything that happened. You will wish you were there if you weren't there. But I know somebody that's there, and there he is in the chat room, Scott Atkinson, Cambridge, Ohio. Shit the bed on the last edition of What Does Sam Like Best, but we're not going to talk about that anymore. Scott was there, took part in the cooking contest. I'll let you know all about it coming up in about 11 minutes from now. We'll give you the whole recap of this past weekend's event, and it was a great event, I got to tell you. 35 past the hour, first timer to the show, 2022, continuing to bring a new guest, the likes we have never seen in any other show year. The owner of Truth BBQ in Houston, Texas, Leonard Botello, joins me for the first time. If you're a fan of Texas Monthly's top 50 barbecue list, Leonard's operation is right smack dab at number 3, up from an initial run at number 10, I believe, a handful of years ago. So he's been on there twice, probably the only. And I think when we were sound checking yesterday, he said in the same year, he's got 2 different locations at this point. There's one in Houston, and the original location that I'm not going to remember right off the top of my head, Barron, one of those. I apologize for not knowing it right off the top of my head, but the original location, which is just by College Station out there, Texas A&M. Both of the locations might have been on the list. Is that possible? We'll get some confirmation from Leonard. We'll talk about how we got into the Texas barbecue game, and we'll talk about where the future of Texas barbecue is going to go. So Leonard is ready to rock and roll 35 past the first hour. That will also close the first hour, and we'll move to the second hour after that. Joining me 14 past the second hour, the Pizziola de Pizziolas, the founder of Urban Slicer Pizza Work, Matt Frampton, joins the show. So we'll get an update on what's new in the pizza industry. We'll talk about how the business is going for him. I think he was like a lot of folks that are in the live fire business here over the last couple of years, where as long as you weren't necessarily a restaurant, then as we've said time and time again, the restaurants that were able to pivot and make the switch to where it worked also survived. Maybe they never went back to how it was pre-COVID, but Matt, not in that particular scenario, but offering stuff that live fire folks love to do. A lot of live fire folks love to do the high heat pizza, the neo pies, the grilled pies. He makes doughs for both, and then he has those new seasonings. Not necessarily new now, but last time he was on the show, we were announcing 2 new seasonings. He's got the sauce. So we'll get an update on how business is, because for as big of a boom as there is a sizable bust that is continuing through 2022 here and affecting a number of the bigger players. So we'll see where Matt Frampton's business is sitting. And then I'm just teasing it. If you know Matt like I know Matt, then you know how I got to know Matt the first time, the first version of Matt, which was not Pizza Guy. I mean, sure, he liked pizza. Who doesn't? I'm sure he made pizza, but not to the degree that he is known now. How did I know Matt before I knew him as the Pizziola de Pizziolas? In the chat, go ahead and levy your guesses that are best, and I'll tell you if you're right or wrong. But let's just say this. The gang might be getting back together sooner than later, and I'm very excited to talk to Matt about it. Then closing out the show, a quarterly guest, the first full-time barbecue editor in the country, writing for Texas Monthly Magazine. As we just referenced in the first hour, talking about Truth BBQ, Daniel Vaughn will be joining us as we talk about the boom and bust in the barbecue industry. One of the topics that we'll be talking about tonight, at least in Texas, is the rash of barbecue restaurants that are closing. A week ago, he did a nice piece on a particular barbecue restaurant that has seen its shares of struggles and is in that meandering spot of, should we go out of business or should we live and fight another week, another month, another year? So 2022 has not necessarily been kind to a lot of folks in the barbecue business, which is just the opposite as it had been the last couple of years. So we'll talk to Daniel about how he sees that playing out over the course of the rest of 2022. And we'll also talk about offset smokers. Great article that he wrote on those. A lot of questions that I have in regards to offset smokers as they relate to Texas barbecue. And I may or may not lead into the price of brisket per pound. Obviously, I'll ask Leonard about that as well in the first hour. But also, I might have a little fun with him in regards to the announced Southern Living top 50 barbecue list that Robert Moss made mention to last week, and see where Daniel's thoughts are on said list, and we'll go from there. So that's how the show's setting up. We got an open segment coming up next, recapping Hartville Hardware's Grillfest this year. The Leonard Botello first-time guest from Truth BBQ, 35 past the first hour. Second hour, Matt Frampton from Urban Slicer Pizza Works. And closing out the show, Daniel Vaughn, the barbecue editor over at Texas Monthly Magazine. Don't forget, you can follow me socially, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Snapchat at BBQ Central Show. We'd like to say good evening to those of you watching this show tonight through one of our streaming platforms. You can go to Facebook and Twitch/BBQ Central Show to watch. Also, you can take in the show via YouTube/RD Rempe, where there's a robust chat going on once again. We'll also take a second to say hello to all the folks using our audio streaming platform partner, Clubhouse, as well. So if you'd rather hear us and not look at us, and I understand that, Clubhouse is the way to do it. Just download the app, search for me, and away you go. So let's go ahead and start here this evening. I'm getting a number of mixed emails as it relates to the brisket pricing topic. Some folks are over it, and some folks can't seem to get enough of it. Well, I have good news and bad news. Tonight's show is going to have more of it because two of my guests are, one is a restaurateur and the other is the barbecue editor for Texas Monthly. So if you're interested in this topic, you're in luck. If you're not interested in anymore, you are not in luck. But I can guarantee it pretty much all ends here tonight, no matter what side of the fence you're on. So take that to heart. Also know some listener feedback from past shows. Jamie in Utah writing in, for the love of Mo Kason's ice chomping, will you please stop doing that godforsaken game with Sam the cooking guy? What?
Get that big stuff out of here.
That's my favorite segment. But now, instead of the witty and funny banter between you and Sam, we get some dude from Hawaii fumbling around about what cheeses Sam likes. It's time to stop the madness. Regards, Jamie. Jamie, thank you for writing in and levying your opinion on how the Sam the Cooking Guy segment has, I guess in your estimation, deteriorated over time. By the way, he makes reference to some dude from Hawaii. That some dude from Hawaii's name is show favorite Lance Owens. And I never say his last name right, but I did do it right just there. And he hasn't been on the Sam the Cooking Guy, What Is Sam Like best show for months. Sam mentions it. Jamie in Utah mentioning it. But Lance hasn't been on. The last guy on was Scott, and he's from Ohio. And didn't win. And Lance has never answered questions about what cheese Sam's like or doesn't like. Here's the best news for you, Jamie. Outside of Lance Owens, who doesn't need me to stand up for him, but since he's not in Clubhouse during Sam's segment, fumbling around about what cheese Sam's likes, I'm going to stand up for him. I'm going to be his mouthpiece. Even though he is Hawaii's top realtor to the barbecue stars in Kona, Hawaii, by the way, if you need a premium house. By the way, completely diverging. Any house in Hawaii appears to be premium. 2 bedrooms, half bath, 600 square feet. How much is that going for in Hawaii? $2.3 million. No basement. Thank you. Heaven forbid you want a real-ass house with 3 or 4 bedrooms and 2 and maybe a half full, 2 full and a half bath. You have to be a multi-millionaire in order to survive out there. It's insane. Lance, I hate to say it, but from what I understand from your podcast, the housing market is tanking. I hope you saved your thin guilders, because you might have to go be picking coffee to make ends meet and keep that horse arena in shape. It's very expensive to live out there for the houses. I get it. The views are majestic. It's paradise. You get what you pay for. But I don't know. Last night, sitting out on my concrete patio in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, eastern suburb, having a nub Maduro from Oliva was pretty majestic to me. And I got 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, and almost 2,500 square feet. That was well under $1 million. Now, if I could take my house and ship it to Hawaii and sell that bad boy and just recoup the gains, now we're talking. Now we have something. Anyway, I'm way off track. I apologize to Lance and everybody else. Jamie, I want to bring this up because you had mentioned it. Is there any way we can get away from this game? Look, Sam and I are way ahead of you. What do I mean by that? For as well as the game went last time Sam was on, beginning of this month, I immediately texted Sam, even with the plethora of great emails that came in that said that was the best game to date. I said, you know what's missing here, Sam? We blow the segment all the way through, or there's only 3 minutes left, and we're actually not able to talk food. So if it's okay with you, what I would like to do is once a quarter, we'll do first segment, what does Sam like best? And then we'll hold them over for the second segment in the second hour, talk about food. And then for the other 2 meetings in that quarter, we're going to do 1 full segment of food, no game show. Because really, Sam is cooking 3 times a week, putting it out on YouTube for everybody. He wants to do that. I want to talk to him about food topics. And quite frankly, the game show has grown so popular that it has taken away all the food time that I have to talk with Sam, especially if I have another guest backed up in that last segment, or the bullpen segment as we call it. So I don't not want to talk to Sam about food, but then I also have times to meet and other guests to get to. I don't want to ship Sam off on the end of a game show and not talk about why he used to come on the show in the first place, which is food. So once every third month, we will have the game show, but we will be talking about food the other 2 months in that quarter. And if we could back them up and talk 2 segments, that's fine. Would love to do it. So look for an all-food month in October. How about that? Jamie, thank you for writing in. I appreciate your feedback. And know that we are listening here on the feedbacks department at the Barbecue Central Show. All right, week 12, we're getting ready to go with David Leans and the Do Wellness program. DavidLeans.com/BBQ to sign up right now. You know you should do it. DavidLeans.com/BBQ. Sign up right now. Join me on my venture. We've leaned out. Now, week 12, in earnest. Guess what we're going to start doing? Eating a lot, but the right way. Got my health screening at work today. Numbers are superior. The lady that did a whole health screening said, "You're the best person that's walked into the room this morning. You're the most healthy. Your blood pressure is incredible. We haven't seen numbers like this. You're 12% body fat." I'm a vision to this lady. I said, "You know what, ma'am? In a year from now, I'm going to be 15 pounds more muscular because I'm on the David Leans program. We have it all worked out diet-wise. I have to increase my eating. I'm just not a big eater. I love to eat, but I'm not a big eater. But now I have to increase the calories. Got to do it. Got to hit the big weight. Got to put on the muscles. Soon you'll see me ripping through the Row Cooker t-shirt. And it's all thanks to my pal David Leans. He can help you as well. And again, highly, highly accessible. Phone calls, emails, text messages. He does it all. And he does it almost 24/7. How do you sign up? DavidLeans.com. That's DavidLeans.com/BBQ. DavidLeans.com/BBQ. Come on aboard here for the last quarter of the year almost. Do it now so it's easier to start next year or keep it going for next year. You don't have to lie to yourself like all those other people saying, "This is the year, new me." Bullshit. Do it now. DavidLeans.com/BBQ. Get the deal, and away we go. Hartville Hardware recap. If you want to join me on Clubhouse, you can do that as well. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. Visit cookinpellets.com for more information. You can also purchase right there on their website. They also have a number of other products that will enhance the smokeditude of your various cookers, adding a little extra smoke flavor to your meat. Cookinpellets.com is the place to go. We thank CB and the gang over at cookinpellets.com for their long-time support of this show out there in Wisconsin. We need another segment, CB. What are we waiting on? Pellets flying out the door still? Still too busy? I'll wait for you. That's all right. All right, so if you want to jump in with any questions, or if you were over in Hartville this past weekend and you want to weigh in with some stories or things that happened to you on that Saturday, I'm more than happy to have you. You got to do it over there on the Clubhouse. Just go ahead and raise your hand, and I'll get you up and get your story. So this past Saturday, September 17th, I believe was the 7th rendition of the Hartville Hardware Grillfest. We're calling this one Grillfest 2022. If you can use your wild imagination, last year was Grillfest 2021, if you can believe that or not. But it was 2022 this year because it is 2022, rapidly coming to a close. And it's a great event. I remember cooking the very first event 7 years ago. Maybe it was 8 years ago because we're not counting one that was COVID canceled 2 years ago. Last year was a little sparsely populated. The year before that was canceled due to the pandemic. But the very first one ever, I actually did a rib contest in. So I paid $30. I cooked a rack of, or two of, I believe they were baby back ribs at that point, and finished horrifically in the middle of the pack. Dr. Barbecue was a judge. There was a couple other celebrity demonstrators, cooking demos that were there judging as well. But I had my little field recorder, and I was bebopping around in the competition tent, interviewing a bunch of folks, making them feel like they were big deals. And who ended up winning that very first one? None other than the pitmaster of Kryptonite Barbecue, Keith Harris. I don't know if Keith Harris rings a name for you, but us here in the region of Cleveland and or within a couple of hours who have been going to this event know Keith as the guy that won the very first one. And then Traeger sent him a bunch of stuff for winning it, and he kept posting about how much he loved his Traeger. And then, wouldn't you know it, a couple of years later, Keith ends up going to work for Traeger because he's a big believer in the product. Did his own influencing to the folks at Traeger, and now he's, I think, regional sales of a multi-state territory and stuff like that. But he's a great guy. He really loves the product. He's a really great cook and has become quite an elite level cook at this stage of the game because of how much that he gets to do it and how much he likes it. I mean, when you love to do something, you pay more attention to it, you practice at it more, and you become much more proficient and expert in it. And certainly Keith and his wife are doing that. So Keith was helping run the samples tent over there underneath the Traeger thing. Before we get going, I want to thank a few people at Hartville Hardware. First was Kelly Hill, who stepped in as the new role in the marketing department, I believe, kind of getting this together. And then, of course, my main man, guy who's been there from the very beginning, Steve McMillan. I call him Firemaster General over there at Hartville Hardware. So thank you, Kelly, and thank you, Steve, and the entire staff over at Hartville Hardware. If you've never been there, I think aside just from the sheer size of this place, I know I've talked about it 100,000 different times. That's majestic in its own right, but going into the facility itself, one thing that you walk out of and realize right away was, wow, the employees there are some of the nicest, most knowledgeable people anywhere in retail. They're always happy. They're always around. And there's a lot of them around, but not in a bad way. There's somebody always accessible in whatever department, and they know what they're talking about. It's not like you're going to No Names Please, Lowe's, Home Depot, Sam's Club, wherever, and asking whoever the expert du jour is in the hardware aisle, what millimeter bolt should I get with this? But those people know. They're experts. They're probably teaching other people how to be better hardware and apparel and grill salespeople, and knowledgeable at that. So the entire staff is great to work with. It's always a great opportunity for me to get out there and do this event on a Saturday. Now, many of you commented on my Instagram post showing the house inside the store and that you were surprised it was a real thing. Yes! Of course it's a real thing. Why would I say that? And potentially put myself in a spot of looking like a liar. I don't want to do that. It's an 1,850 square foot house inside the hardware store, which, by the way, if I read it correctly, under roof, there's 7 acres at that place. It's big. Like an acre is big. 7 acres is 7 times bigger than that. There's an 1,850 square foot house, or in Hawaii, a $10 million house. And they have it outfitted with all the special lights and things. It's the idea house is what they call it. So you can go through that house, get some ideas, and then you can go into the store itself and outfit your wares and wants with everything in that idea house right there in the store because it's all under the roof. So it's great. But a lot of you were surprised that that was physically a thing. Did very well on my Instagram Reels. Now, I certainly want to thank the sound people who worked through a host of potential tech issues early on Saturday morning to get the sound right for both the presenters and me. How it sets up on the side of the building. So as you're walking into it, there's actually quite a substantial live demo area on some AstroTurf before you actually get into the main facility itself. And then off to the side, there's an actual stage area. So the presenters are working the stage. There was, I don't know, is it 100? Scott, you were there. Are there 100 chairs in the demo tent? 150 chairs? Not 100? I didn't really take account. I probably should have done that, but they're nicely spaced, very comfortable. You're in that tent. And then you have the demo person up on there cooking in front of you. They had a little issue with one of the televisions. Not sure exactly what was that. So a portion of the viewing audience couldn't get the camera view as you're looking down, trying to see how the hands are working and how that recipe is going on. But the left side was, but Scott saying that he thinks there's about 100 seats. So pretty decent crowd for what the event is. It's not a stadium tour or anything like that, but 100 people is pretty nice. At 10:30, who's up first for the demos? Somebody I had never met in person. And I meet him the first time in person, grilling with Dad. Maciek Zukowski. And this guy is a Instagram sensation. He's got 350,000 Instagram followers, but he was telling me his Facebook is even bigger than that. And he does a lot of really great videos that are geared to the everyday guy and gal, food that he would make for himself and his family. You know, younger guy, youngish guy, 40, I think he said he was. Got a couple kids. And this is his full-time job now, grilling with Dad, social media, videos, sponsorships, things like this. And he travels around. He had a completely outfitted Sprinter van with a number of different big green eggs in there and all of his cooking wares and tables and things that you need to do this thing professionally. Saw it right when we walked in, took a big video of it. So if you were following me on Instagram Saturday, you saw everything that we were doing. And Maciek does a strip steak with chimichurri sauce to lead off the day. Delicious. I'm a huge fan of chimichurri sauce. I have never made chimichurri sauce in my life. I'm ashamed to say it. You know who makes the best chimichurri sauce I've ever had? And Maciek's was really good. BBQ makes the best I was drinking it the last time she made chimichurri, which I think was a year ago. I was drinking it out of a cup. It's too good. I don't know why I don't have it all the time with steak or beef in general, but I don't. I never think about making it, but it's delicious and I love it. Contradictory, of course. Why? Because I love to live in contradiction. So Maciek gets done. You got an hour to work, 45 minutes or so. They turn the tables around. Then at 11:30, who's coming on? The diva herself, Danielle Bennett, Diva Q. She's got two demos. She goes right after the opener, and then she closes it out. I'll talk about that here in a second. Diva Q does a braided pork loin and pork tenderloin wrapped in bacon, although she does leave some unwrapped in bacon for those that don't like that. And the main topic hit to me that I saw a lot of people gasping was her mention of the internal finish temperature on pork. It appears that a lot of people think that you still need to cook it to 175 or 180 degrees in order to get it safe. So when she mentioned 145 degrees, people were like, what? 145? We're all going to die. We're going to get trichinosis and die a bloody death. It was a big aghast from the crowd, but it's true. And if any of you are watching and you're new to the game and you are cooking your pork past 145 degrees, stop it. You're missing out on some of the best pork you will ever eat in your life. Stop at 145. It'll carry over small handful of degrees, maybe up to 150. Maybe that makes you feel better. But if there's not pink inside your pork, you're doing it wrong.
Get that big stuff out of here.
We're not shooting for white, edgy pork. Pink in the middle is good. A nice rosy pink in the middle is better. Again, 145 should be the target. That was surprising to a lot of folks. It was delicious, a lot of samples. They went quick, and the tent is packed. Everybody's coming to see Diva. She's the draw. There's no doubt about it. She's a big personality. She demos better than anybody I've ever seen. She's highly professional, and she runs a great line between information and sales. Does she go over the top on sales? No. Does she tell you why Traegers, in her opinion, are really good all-around cookers? Yes. Do people buy that? Yes. They're walking away with the cookers because of her demos. So she does a really good job. And that's really what this event is all about. I mean, they want to bring in, Hartville does, they want to exhibit all of their manufacturers. They want to put out great deals. They want to really make this day run for everybody and invite all the live fire lovers around the area to come and partake in it. But it's business, right? They want to sell, of course. And Diva does a great job of that. Then at 12:30, oh my God, I was so excited for the first time meeting him in person, and we were hyping it up a couple weeks ago. Mike Lang from Another Pint, Please. What a treat for me. I've met Danielle in person, one of the few I've met many times. I can hardly ever say that, but this was the very first time on all the times Mike has been on the show that I get to meet him in person. So that was a tremendous happy moment for me. Mike does cheesy beef short rib street tacos, as he had mentioned the last time he was on the show. Also, he was selling copies of his book at that event as well. And during his demo, I did mention, hey, Mike's got books to sell here. I'm sure he'll autograph, take a picture. By the way, if you're a fan of the show, I will sign Mike's book if you want me to. It's a thing. People were looking at me like, who the hell? What? But if you know the show, that's a thing, right? I autograph other people's book regularly on giveaways, and not one person took me up on that. I couldn't believe it, even after I mentioned it. Mike did a great job. This was the first time that he had demoed in front of this size of group, and he looked like he was an old pro. Did such a smooth presentation, talked about technique, but never got in the weeds with anything. Really showcased that Weber Summit Kamado, or whatever the hell they're talking about it now. It used to be the Summit Charcoal Grill, but now it's the Weber Summit Kamado cooker, and also did some time on the gas grill, so was working two different fuel types at the same time. Very impressive, and again, very smooth. Everybody loved it. Then at 1:30, as we say, closing the show, who's coming back? Danielle Bennett, Diva Q, and coming back for the steak demo. Third year in a row for this particular demo. I think it has become the closer of demos for the Grillfest. And I know a lot of people come to this event every year, and they have seen this one every single time that it's been done, now at least 2 years or 3 years in a row. And do you know when it's time to stop doing the same demo? When no one shows up for it anymore, regardless of the talent not being able to change their mind. They've seen enough of it and they don't want to do it. Well, guess what? Everyone did show up. The tent was packed. Everyone knew what was coming at the end, and every person in the tent took that money shot right to their collective faces, and we all loved it. After going through the process of how the steaks were reverse seared, seasoned before that, and then finished on that induction burner on the new Traeger, Danielle takes 6 or so of these 2-inch thick ribeyes, stacks them on top of each other, takes a sharp knife, and then slices right down the middle of all of them, and then pulls them apart to reveal the inside. 6 identically cooked, medium rare steaks. You can't not love it. It's magical. It's delicious in a way. It's sensual. That's right, I said it. It's sensual in a way when she parts those steaks. They're all cooked perfectly. Same color from top to bottom. Oh, yes. 6 ribeyes, reverse seared, all the same. It's sensual, baby. Yeah. Anyway, it's a crowd favorite. It inspires people to give it a try. most importantly, to Hartville Hardware, inspires people to buy the product from being demoed, because that's really what they want to do. Again, they want their vendors to move product on that special day, and Danielle is really the best at doing that, educating and selling. Now, aside from the demos, there's a full-fledged cooking contest going on as well. There were 20 teams cooking on either a Weber gas grill, a Traeger pellet cooker, or a Big Green Egg. And believe it or not, those were all sold as pre-burned units at a great discount. In fact, when I got my hands on promoting what was left, by the time I started my job, right, there was only 4 Big Green Egg pre-burns left. And they were selling them at like $900. It was $300 or $400 off retail, only used once, and you know it works. And potentially it could have been an award-winning Big Green Egg at that. So that's great. But those are the competitors and what they're cooking on. There did seem to be a bit of confusion on what was required in the box, as in some teams did the ribs, and then they also turned in sliced pork belly and cubes as well. That's what they were turning in, ribs and a portion of pork belly. Some teams did the ribs and cubes only. Judges never said anything one way or the other. Nobody was disqualified, so I'm not sure if there was just a misinterpretation of the rules or if some people were just like, screw it, we're going to turn in whatever we're going to turn in and go from here. I don't know. But the turn-ins hit the table at 3 p.m., and then Machek, Mike Lang, Steve from Hartville Hardware, and Danielle get to eating through 20 boxes of ribs and pork belly. Yikes. I'm happy I didn't have to take part in that. Instead, I was tasked to keep the crowd engaged while the judging took place, and I did that by doing some door prize giveaways. I used my superior game show skills to devise some very easy but good questions for each of the presenters, which did prove to be a little bit more difficult to answer in the final analysis. And after I ran out of all of those questions, I had a backup game ready to launch, which for anyone who's a fan of this show would know, Cheese or Font made its reappearance, but live, local, and late breaking, the game show sweeping the nation, where I say a name, and then you tell me if it's a cheese or if it's a font. And right as the prizes were running out, the judges had finished their portion of the eating, and the final tickets were getting tallied, and the winner was revealed. Now, in past years, I was not the one announcing the winners, but I think my main man, Steve, at Hartville had too much pork and was happy to turn those duties over to me, which I was more than happy to do. Now, there's a winner per cooking manufacturer, i.e. a Weber winner, a Big Green Egg Weber winner, and a Traeger winner, and then the three go head to head to head for an overall winner determined, and as luck would have it, I end up knowing the guy who won the Traeger portion, and I was lucky enough to sample his food, and it was great. Aaron Huntelman from Go Big or Go Barbecue wins the Traeger side. Great sauce and great rub, by the way, which he is selling, so visit their website, Go Big or Go Barbecue. Now, after doing my best Bob Barker to really drum up suspense by almost revealing the overall winner and then walking away from it, then coming back to it, then walking away from it, Go Big or Go Barbecue is the overall champion. So for like a $30 entry fee, Aaron wins a $250 gift card for the Traeger win, an additional $250 for the overall winner. He wins a wooden medal for the Traeger win, and then he gets a huge wooden trophy for the overall win. So congratulations to Aaron. We're actually working on getting him on the show soon to talk about that event as well. Great day, incredible day, lots of great folks. And when it comes right down to it, the best part of the day for me is getting to enjoy a All Saints St. Francis premium cigar in the Toro format with my good friend in person with Mike Lang from Another Pint, Please. It was great. Great day. Thank you so much to everybody at Hartville, everybody that stopped out, everybody that pulled me aside and said, listen to the show, big fan. Always surreal for me. But love it. Looking forward to doing it again in 2023. Right, so we have Leonard Botello coming up here in just a moment. So many people are looking at Labor Day as the end of all things summer, but let's not do it. Some of the nicest barbecue weather is still to come. Indian summer brings a lot of warm weekends to gather, grill, watch football, and Bub and Mothers can bring the flavor you and your guests deserve. Not only is it 100% natural, but it has less salt than many of the bottles you'll find on most shelves. Less salt means you can add more flavor by adding more rub and not worrying about oversalting your meats. or side dishes. More spices and less salt also means these rubs go a lot further, last longer, and are a greater value. Want some new ideas? Head on over to bubandmothers.com and click on the What's Cooking link. There you will find recipes and ideas for the rubs, including making your own barbecue sauce, wings that bite back, or our soon-to-be-famous redneck aioli, and the barbecue margarita, to name a few. Right now, until we run out, everyone who orders a 4-pack of rubs, just $24.95, you can get one of our special t-shirts absolutely free. Just enter the code B4GO in the promo box at checkout and tell them what shirt and what size in the note box. That's code B4GO, B4GO. And remember, every purchase creates an additional donation to veteran charities. As a veteran-owned company, they're proud of their service and continued support of all who wear the uniform. Bub and Mother's, Downey's Dinner Dust, made with real maple syrup crystals and fresh roasted ground espresso, and their honey and heat, adding honey crystals and chipotle, both create flavors that only your taste buds can appreciate. In fact, I used Downey's Dinner Dust on my Brussels sprouts for dinner this evening. Spectacular ad. Good for me. Bubandmothers.com. That's B-U-B, the letter N, M-U-T-H-A-S, bubandmothers.com. That's the website. And don't forget, buy the 4-pack for $24.95 and get a free t-shirt when you enter the promo code B4GO, all one word, B4GO. Tell them what shirt you like and what size you wear, and they will help you out. Well, I have a terrible feeling here. A very terrible feeling. Texas is an hour behind. Leonard Botello is not in the switcher, which means it's 8:41 where he is, and now I'm second-guessing myself, thinking I might have told him 9:41 where he is. That would be wrong. Oh, dear. Well, we're going to figure it out one way or another. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rampey. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
Welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Fireboard. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. Connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring or connect via Bluetooth. And don't forget that new predictive option that has just been pushed out to all of the different Fireboards as well. If you have Alexa or the Google Assistant in your home, you're in luck. Fireboard fully integrated with both. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232, 816-945-2232. That's the folks at Fireboard, where they're now selling Fireboard 2, Fireboard 2 Drive, and of course the Fireboard Pro, which is for the high heat stuff. And the Spark, which is the one-channel Fireboard, and the instant read meat thermometer. Apologies, I'm emailing the media person at the same time about Leonard, which I believe we run. See, this is what happens. you're not Eastern, where are you? Nowhere.
Get that big stuff out of here.
Eastern. The whole country should be Eastern time zone. This way, we never have this problem. I can just say a time. I don't have to go through what Eastern. How many hours away is that? This, that, and the other thing. Well, I don't know. Does anybody have any idea what time it is in Hawaii? I'm going to take a guess, and I don't know. I should, because I was in airplane travel for a little while before I ended up wanting to blow my head off. I think Hawaii is, it's currently 3:45 p.m. Eastern. Is that correct? Can we get a drum roll on that? Lance, what time is it there? I'm guessing it's 3:45 Hawaiian Standard Time, but we'll see as the answer rolls in here through YouTube. Assuming, I mean, if it's 3:45, it's also the middle of the day for Hawaii's most popular and successful realtor. 3:44, yes, I'm right. Is that PST, like Pacific Standard Time? Isn't that West Coast time, Pacific time? Aren't you in a different time zone altogether? You're farther back than Pacific Standard Time. Is that the same thing as West Coast time? Pacific. Yeah, right. Because they always used to do 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. HST. All right. I was going to say. So where you have Western time or Pacific time as 3 hours back of me, it's an additional 3 hours. HST. Holy moly. 3:45. Shouldn't you be selling homes, Lance? What are you doing to the show? I don't want you to get fired. Oh, wait a second. You own the whole business, so don't worry about it. Everything's fine. Well, now you know Hawaii is 6 hours off Eastern, so wherever you are in this great land of ours, make your time zone adjustments as necessary. Let me write this back. Unfortunately, for those of you who were tuning in for Truth BBQ, we're going to have to rebook that. We fell into the time zone monster, unfortunately. It was tough. Look, I don't remember specifically saying it's this time, my time, 1 hour back. Maybe I did in the sound check, but I don't remember. I don't usually make that mistake, but I'm not going to say I'm above reproach when it comes to making time zone adjustments, but I'm usually pretty good with Texas. So my next guest in next hour, both of them are an hour behind. Nebraska, Matt Frampton's Nebraska, that's an hour behind. And of course, Daniel Vaughn is in Texas. That's an hour behind. So I believe we'll miss Truth BBQ, Leonard Botello, and it pains me. But the good news is we can rebook him. We have the technology. We will do it. So if you're tuning in for him, I apologize. There was a time zone adjustment somewhere along the line. I'm not here to place blame, but hopefully it wasn't me.
Get that big stuff out of here.
If I can go back to Hartville just to wind it up a little bit, because I didn't realize I was getting that long-winded. The day was incredible, as I had mentioned. Even Scott Atkinson saying awesome day at Hartville because he was there. He was actually one of the competitors. He had won the Traeger side of things in the past as well. Scott, had you won the whole thing too in the past? I forget that, but I know you had won the segment at least once or twice maybe. Great day. The store incredible, yes, and I've mentioned it. But when it comes right down to it, the people at Hartville are just the best, and the talent they secured for this year's Grillfest brought in a whole new level of excellence, and I am continually humbled that they ask me to come back and host this event, kind of keep it going, and help facilitate some kind of continuity in between demos and keep people's interest and talk up the specials that are going. And always feel a little bit like an auctioneer in a good way when I'm talking about what pre-burned grills are still left and how you better hurry and chase somebody down from Grillfest. Tell them you want that. Now, Scott's best was second overall. Gordon Thompson was at Hartville as well. Gordon, didn't you know the steak demo that Diva was doing to close it out at 1:30? You didn't see that? Scott got a 5th overall this year. Well, that was good that they rolled out who the first to last was. Got a lot of questions on that. Also, I think because I have a microphone, people assume that I actually work at Hartville. I would love to work at Hartville Hardware, especially in the grilling area. I think I could really command that. That could be my thing. I don't know if I'm necessarily into the retail hours per se. I like the truck flexibility and what I have going here on the night gig, but I think I could own that whole live fire department and blow everybody out of the water there. Not saying that the sales guys on the floor and gals aren't doing a good job, not at all, but I think I could take them all down easily if I wanted to step foot in there and flex game, but it's a great place. Looking forward to next year, as I had mentioned before, and I hope for the folks who are close. Now, when I say close, for instance, I keep referencing Scott here. He's 2 hours away from Hartville. He's down, south of 77 there in Cambridge, Ohio. When you look at it, I mean, that's a hike. That's a 2-hour trip up to a store, like an event, of course, not just going to mill around the store, but I'm sure he spent a bunch of time in the store as well, aside from cooking the event as well, which really brought him up there. But that's a big trip for this kind of an event. It's not a KCBS sanctioned contest or an SCA contest or anything like that. But if you are in the area, if you're close, within a few hours, really consider coming out next year and seeing what it's all about and getting to take part in the excitement of not only the cooking competition, but seeing the live demos with the talent. These are people that you know. If you are into the live fire community, if you are into this thing, then you know who Grillin' with Dad is, and you know who Another Pint Please is, and you obviously know who BBQ is. And they're right there, and they're ready to interact, and they're happy to see you and answer any questions. Nobody is too good for you or hides after their demo is over and runs away and sequesters themselves outside of the crowd. They're all mingling, they're all working, and they're all cooking, and they're just normal people like you and me, and it's a great event. And the weather was so great this year. I think that just added to everything, of course, but you get a weather day like we had on Saturday where it was just cresting into the 80s, not too hot, and the great deals that are going on and the talent. And I think it was the most populated, well-attended Grillfest to date, 7 years in, which gives me hope that next year is going to be even bigger and better than that. So hopefully they'll have me back. I'm happy to do it. I'm ready to sign up right now. So as they get through their roundup meeting at the end of this week to talk about how good the good things were and what things do you need to work on or opportunities to better themselves at, hopefully they'll reach out, and away we go. All right, so that wraps up the Hartville Hardware recap. If it was a little long-winded, I apologize. We got lost in some time zone stuff, but we will make good with Leonard Botello from Truth BBQ. I can spend a little bit more time researching him now. Not that I wasn't all ready to go, but I can look up some finer details here and make sure I got my cities right instead of guessing and hoping I'm right. Nobody likes to do that. With the remaining time left, if you are interested in winning a bottle of salt, pepper, and garlic rub from, I think that's Loot and Booty. Yeah, I think that's Loot and Booty. Jump on over to Clubhouse and raise your hand. Doesn't matter if you've won before or not. Raise your hand, jump on in, and I will ask you a real quick question about Hartville. See if you were listening. And assuming you get that trivia question right, I'm happy to send you a bottle of that salt, pepper, and garlic rub that our friend Sterling Smith, not Ball, my second favorite Sterling Smith, from Loot and Booty Barbecue. His rubs are widely considered to be excellent. So do a little hand raising and we'll get you up on stage and see what everything's about here. All right, looks like we got somebody here. Make sure that you are off mute. Is this Guy? Just like that. He left.
Get that big stuff out of here.
Okay. Just like that, I am wondering if Lance Owen is available. Lance, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, there you are.
All right.
Fabulous. Well, you've been a regular celebrity on the show this evening.
Thank you very much.
Of course. We're always happy to promote your goings-on in the majestical state of Hawaii. All right, let's make sure you were listening to my diatribe of Hartville hardware. September 17th, Grillfest 2022. Who was the middle presenter at Hartville Hardware?
I wish Guy would have got on. I don't know.
Get that big stuff out of here.
Guy, come in. Back me up.
Lance, you're gone. All right. Let's see. Somebody else was listening here. Fridge, you up?
What's going on?
All right, there he is, Fridge Man. See, it figures that Clubhouse is working flawlessly at this point, but never seems to work when Sam the cooking guy is on. Nevertheless, Fridge, let's see if you were listening to my recap of Hartville Hardware. Here's your question. Which presenter demoed twice on Saturday?
I couldn't tell you that because I just turned this on. And
Oh, no!
Big stuff out of here.
Things are going very well for as great as the sound is coming through this evening and having no issues connecting. Nobody's doing it. Lance, you're right. Diva was last, but that's not the right question. Guy, you there? Take yourself off mute. Unmute yourself. Do you see the mute button? Oh, wait. Do I have to invite? No, you're up. You're there. You should be on. Are you muted? Well, Guy, if you're there, I can't hear you. That's too bad.
Big stuff out of here.
It's just too bad. Because now we've run out of time. But that's fine. We were able to get to the end of the hour. I didn't know if that was actually going to happen or not. Hey, before we wrap it up, let me talk to you quickly about Green Mountain Grills. And there should be a ruling from the presidential rulings here shortly. Let's fingers crossed here, hopefully by the end of the month. Choice line and the prime line, that's the way it goes. If you want to save a couple bucks, it's the choice line. If you don't mind spending a couple extra bucks, it's the prime line. GreenMountainGrills.com is the place to go. Find a dealer near you, only sold through dealers. Get educated, get the one you want, and away you go. GreenMountainGrills.com. And get the pizza oven insert for crying out loud. That's what you want. By the way, Google RIPT Grills as well. Has nothing to do with Green Mountain Grills. I'm just throwing that out there. We'll stick around to wrap the first hour. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right. Welcome back. Thank you to everybody that took part in that quick trivia game, and nobody won, so I get to keep Sterling's thing again. Not a mute button to be found. Wow, Clubhouse, not great. All right, hold on. So, Guy, I'm looking at Clubhouse right now. I have you invited on stage. Do you not have a stage invite from me? I'll wait. No, I'll wait. Do you not have a stage invite for me? Not a mute button to be found. And I work from a completely different interface, by the way. I work on Club Deck, so you can hear my microphone. No, he's not on stage. I don't even know how to get him off stage. Well, that's trouble. I'll tell you that. Okay. Now, I'm going to try to invite him on stage. Now, I've sent an invite. Do you see an invite? I don't know. It's very odd. It's very odd. I apologize, guy. It seems like if you are a Sam the Cooking Guy or a Guy the Cooking Sam, Clubhouse is not for you. Clubhouse is not for you. All right. We are pointing to the second hour. We have great stuff. We have great guests. Give me a minute or two to refresh libations, and we'll see you shortly. Stick around. Be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me!
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
Charbono! It's all about the charbono, dude!
Succulent fish. What?
He ate sushi or wieners.
But listen, Libertius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
Yeah, just like that, we are into the second hour. It's the Barbecue Central Show. We talk about live fire barbecue and grilling items of the utmost importance. Why, I just spent an hour talking about my Saturday, if you can believe it or not. Well, believe it if you don't, if you're just tuning in to this second hour. You got the full rundown, intimate details on this past Saturday's Grillfest 2022 at the Hartville Hardware location in Hartville, Ohio. So go back and get that on podcast if you missed it, or you can watch the audio and the video archive, as they will automatically save and be ready for rewatch here shortly after the show ends here this evening. Still to come on the show, Matt Frampton from Urban Slicer Pizza Works, and closing the show, Daniel Vaughn from Texas Monthly. So looking forward to talking with them. By the way, the show originating from
Palm City, USA, Cleveland.
We say good evening to the folks that are watching the show over on Facebook and Twitch/BBQ Central Show. There's also a video feed over on YouTube/RD Rempe. You can follow me socially at BBQ Central Show on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Snapchat. And we also say good evening to the folks that are listening to us only and not watching us on our audio platform partner, Clubhouse, which may or may not be having the aforementioned known issues. We tried with Guy, but it didn't work. Now, look, Scott's right on stage. I don't understand it. Scott, you're there, aren't you?
Yep, I'm there.
Of course you're there. You're from Cambridge. You know what you're doing. You're a teacher.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the mute button's in the bottom right, pretty small.
Well, yeah, but I have a problem going on with Guy. It could be somebody had asked in the YouTube chat Club Deck, and it's a download if you go to, I don't know, clubdeck.com or just Google Club Deck. It's a interface that goes on your computer. I only use it because it helps me pipe in the big time microphone and you can hear all the sound effects and all that crap, but otherwise I don't know if it would be better to use in lieu of the phone, unless you're just somebody that sits in front of their computer. Anyway, you were there Saturday. I know I droned on and on, but from a cook's perspective, what did you think of the event? And what do you think of the event as a whole, both from a cook and a consumer?
It's an awesome event. Hartville has definitely a first class act there, and they run the event the same way as they do their store. You definitely, with all the demos, there's a lot of activity. As a cook, you definitely are busy most of the day, so you do miss some of the activities. You're kind of torn between watching your cook and wanting to see the demos, but wanting to win kind of usually drives you to watch your cook a little bit more than attending all the demos, for sure.
Well, $250 to win your segment, and then winning it overall gets you another $250 aside from some pretty cool trophies. I mean, it's a pretty big payday considering you're invested $30 in. Aside from your travel and all that stuff, it's like a $30, $35, or $40 entry fee or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And then all the camaraderie with the other cooks. That's the other thing in the tent. There's a lot of discussions in the day, and just the barbecue family in general is always a good family to be around, and a lot of good discussions during the day while you're cooking. So it's definitely a lot of excitement, and something I probably won't ever miss. But it all started for me with I went to a Traeger shop class there at Hartville, and actually one of them was, I went to two different ones. Diva Q was one of the teachers, and then your embedded correspondent,
Doug
Shiley, was my other. Yeah.
Love Doug.
So they both did a great job teaching. Really had never done any competing until I came to Hartville, and this would have been my third year attending. So it's a great time, great opportunity. Kind of gives you a little bit of the bug to want to compete, and also it's great time with the guys around that you're competing with.
Yeah, great in the competition tent, and of course I always like seeing you in person, and everybody else that stops me and says, "Hey, I'm just here because I heard it on the show," or I'm a fan of the show and I don't really know what else is happening here, but came because you were talking about it. So that's always really nice. But appreciate your feedback on the event, and always good to see you in person, Scott.
Yep, good to see you too, Greg. Oops. See you next year.
All righty. There he is, Scott from Cambridge, Ohio. And his work's fine. I can tell right now here on this clubhouse, something got screwed up when I was inviting Guy on. There's something by his name that just isn't going away. It wasn't there when Scott came up, so maybe there's a bug. I'm sure it would fix itself if I stopped the clubhouse feed, but I am not.
Andrew, you are not the father.
I'm not going to do that. Nope. Hey, coming up on the best moments of the Barbecue Central show in 10 minutes or less this coming Friday, episode 247, taking you back to a date you've probably heard the last 2 weeks, September 6th, 2016. And I don't recall this has ever happened before or not. I'm going with not. The last 3 weeks of Best Moments shows have all come from the same original show. What does that tell you? Content is king for September 6, 2016, as it relates to shows. Joining me back then is Barbecue Hall of Famer and Barbecue Central Show guest Hall of Famer John Marcus. And I don't usually say this so openly, but during this particular portion of the interview, we talked extensively about porta potties. Yes, porta potties. In fact, I recount a story from a year or so prior to that interview where 3 guys were out in the wilderness and happened upon a porta potty. One of the guys decided he was going to use the facilities, and while he was in there, his other 2 pals decided it would be some dynamite wilderness fun to flip the turlet over, so they did it. And in doing so, helped their pal in the potty break his neck. Like, break his neck and became a quadriplegic. So like people do these days, the guy who's now a fresh paraplegic sued the turlet company and won millions and millions of dollars. Why? Because the potty wasn't properly secured to the ground. True story. Google it. In fact, it brought John Marcus to a whole new realm of holy shit. I can't believe that actually happens. And that guy's seen a lot. I mean, he worked with Bill Cosby and some very other famous people, so I know he's seen and experienced a lot. But having your friends tip you over in a porta potty, helping you become a paraplegic, and then turning around and suing the porta potty company and winning? Wow. That is something else. And you can hear about it on this week's Best Of show. By the way, if you want to hear a guest or a segment again that has been lost in the archives, email John. Tell him what you would like to hear. JON@thebbqcentralshow.com. And he'll do his best to meet your expectation as it relates to Best Of shows. Upcoming shows for the rest of this month include a visit from barbecue icon Steven Reichlin next week. Derek Riches will be in next week as well. And the embedded correspondence. However, the embedded correspondent next week, believe it or not, if you can believe we're here already, I'll be shocked. The annual Barbecue Central Show Guest Hall of Fame segment. Let's go! What does that mean? Let me set it up for you. Doug and Rusty and John and myself will all come together next week. And what will happen? We will bring our 5 nominees to the table. We will immediately puke out who our nominees are. Now, in years past, we have generated auto invites or auto qualifiers right in. If everybody gets the same name, all 4 in unanimous, that person gets in right off the bat. That typically doesn't work out like that. Wouldn't that be amazing, though, if all of our names got in right away? Because we put in 5 every year. After that, each one of us picks a name from the remaining list of nominations and then goes to the mat for each individual one, trying to sell our names to the rest of us. Now, maybe we have a change of heart. We allow those persons in until we get to 5. Last year, it took a while, but we had a great list. By the way, all of the classes of the Barbecue Central Show Guest Hall of Fames are on the website, starting with the inaugural class of 2018 and working its way into 2021, if you can believe it. 2022 starts next week. We will have a new class for Barbecue Central Show Guest Hall of Fame at the end of the show next week. Look forward to that. What do we love about ceramic cookers? We love that they're fuel efficient. We love that you can achieve low and slow temperatures for traditional barbecue meats. We love that you can get rip-roaring hot for high-temperature grilling of steaks and other thin cuts. But what's missing in the everyday lineup of ceramic cookers? The real ability to do true two-zone cooking. Two-zone cooking, very popular because it helps you manage the fire and cook with confidence. However, getting a two-zone fire in a round ceramic cooker is not very realistic. Why? Because it's round. Enter Primo Grill and their game-changing oval design. The shape gives you the ability to execute a two-zone setup that you desire. It also gives you the other ceramic grill benefits as well. You can cook over 60 different ways, depending on how you configure this thing. Believe it or not, only limited by your culinary imagination. If you want accessories, they got them. They have a Primo Grill rotisserie accessory. They have a Primo Grill pizza accessory. They have drip pans, full and half, rib racks. They got the new top and bottom dampers, the new lift hinge. Come on, what are you waiting for? Get on over there. These are only sold through dealers, just like Green Mountain Grill. So go to primogrill.com, find a dealer near you, see the size oval that you like best, talk to the sales staff, get educated, and away you go. primogrill.com, that's primogrill.com, and hook up with the ceramic cooker on the market. We are back with Matt Frampton from Urban Slicer Pizza Works right after this. Stick around, be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
Welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker, the most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet, currently available in 3 sizes with a host of accessories to complete your pit barrel cooking experience. Doesn't matter if you're a beginner or a professional, definitely cooker you want to add to the arsenal. Visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell them the Barbecue Central Show sent you. All right, kicking off the second hour tonight is a guy who is roundly, no pun intended, considered to be the live fire pizza guru of our industry, if not the world. You have tried his dough, you've tried his sauce, and most recently you started using his pizza spices. But what else is going on in the world of pizza and beyond? Let's go ahead and hit the hotline. Welcome back, the urban slicer himself, Matt Frampton. Hey, Matt.
How are you, sir?
Dare I say happy National Pepperoni Pizza Day to you. Oh, my.
Right back at you. That it is. It is definitely a glorious day anytime we have a National Pizza Day.
Is there a best pepperoni, or does the best pepperoni dictate itself to the style of pie that you're making?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going under the cheese, just a regular pepperoni that maybe stays flat. You may have heard the cup and char pepperoni term, but essentially it just means the casing is still on the outside of the pepperoni. So when it heats up, it shrinks a little bit and it holds the grease as like a little cup in there. And so, yeah, that's my style. There's lots of good brands out there that make it. Most of them are food service, but yeah.
Is cup and char also what they would refer to as old world pepperoni?
I mean, that's somewhat synonymous. Yeah, cup and char has kind of become the industry term. There's Hormel makes a cup and crisp, which is their branded version of it.
What do you prefer? Like, if you had your druthers, are you always a flat guy, or are you a cup and crisp or cup and char guy?
I'm a cup and char guy. If you
Did
look
you like the
at
grease?
my social, oh yeah, I love the grease. Is the best part, man. You can pick those little pepperonis up and take shots of it if you want, nice
grease
and
shots.
healthy.
Yeah,
baby. I did a little montage of my favorite pepperoni pizzas on social earlier today, just to commemorate the wonderful day that we have today.
If you're not familiar with the website, urbanslicerpizza.com is the place to go if you haven't tried Matt's products. The doughs are absolutely insane. The sauce is of legend, and of course, the pizza spices are equally insane. In fact, I don't know if you heard the beginning of the show, but we had a little flank steak dinner, and I had these, the grocery store where I'm at, because I'm lazy, has the pre-shredded Brussels sprout kind of thing. So 4 strips of bacon in a hot cast iron pan, get the bacon rendering, get the fat out, and then throw the Brussels sprouts in there. Did a little Down East dinner dust from Bub and Mother's, but then came over heavy-handed with the white spice. Is that the Parmesan, or what's the name?
Oh yeah, the white pizza mojo.
Yes, yeah, the white pizza mojo, heavy-handed
Sweet.
over the top. Oh my God, I'm telling you, if you haven't tried it, it's a winner. And I find myself, I'm not handy. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but and also I like to live within rules. So I prefer people to tell me, do this, do that when it comes to cooking. I don't like to experiment. I don't want to do anything wrong. I don't know if I was abused as a child in life. I'm just kidding. I wasn't. Everybody relax. But when I see the red mojo, the white mojo, I only want to just use it on pizza. And then I'm like, you know what? F this. I just started using it on everything, salads and Brussels sprouts and ice cream, and just to see what happens. And that stuff is magic. I mean, seasoning just should be used willy-nilly, right?
Yeah, man, it's super versatile. The white one's really good on potatoes, like in a cast iron skillet. Potatoes for sure. Brussels sprouts, popcorn. My son calls the red one powdered pizza, so you can put it on anything and make it taste like pizza if you're in the mood, or make like a sausage with it or something. So yeah, that's awesome that you love it, man.
Matt, I mentioned on the show that you are the Pizzola de Pizzolas, which is a nod to the Cosa Nostra term for capo de capi, which is the boss of bosses. Can you quickly tell us how one becomes a Pizzola again?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so first of all, you always find ways to embarrass me because there's plenty of good pizzaiolas out there, man. I definitely don't think I'm the best, but I have my own style.
My words, Matt, not
So
yours.
yeah, I appreciate that. I'm obviously catered to the backyard just because of my roots. But I did go get my credentials, so I'm a graduate of the International School of Pizza. I did he's like the Myron Mixon of the pizza world. His name's Tony Gemignani, and 13-time world champion. Got to manage his restaurant for several days and study under him all the 8 days I was there, and super cool experience. You can do that. There's a couple of 1 or 2 day classes, or you can just really dive in and be self-taught. I mean, there's a number of ways to do it. But being a pizziola means you love making pizza, and you respect the craft, and treat it with the respect it deserves. It's an art and a science and a good hobby.
Matt Frampton joining us here on the show from Urban Slicer Pizza, urbanslicerpizza.com, the website. Matt, the past 2 years for many in the live fire community were gangbusters. As the year turned, however, here in 2022, the boom seems to have largely busted for many. How's your business right now? You feeling those effects too?
Well, it's had no shortage of challenges with distribution and procuring our raw ingredients, but we've been pretty fortunate. I mean, we're still growing. We doubled year over year from last year, and we're on pace to do that again this year. So it's been really awesome. I just love that we're accepted by the community out there. We're in over 2,000 stores now across North America. A lot of those are in Canada. So it's been a cool year for Urban Slicer. I know there's been a lot of challenges with companies out there, but we've been fortunate enough to be one that probably hasn't seen the brunt of it.
Do you foresee, I want to say smooth sailing, but no worse sailing than you're experiencing now through the end of the business year?
I do, yeah, so flour obviously is a big ingredient of ours, and there's been an interesting hit, distribution, the droughts that have happened across the United States and outside the U.S.
What about the war?
And
Did that hurt you at all?
It didn't impact me because we procure everything in the U.S. But it has had an impact on the ag industry in general. And so while our ingredients haven't been so directly impacted, our suppliers are being squeezed with other ingredients they're trying to get. Our manufacturers being squeezed here and there. So we're competing with those challenges in a way, but luckily we've had no inventory issues. We've had no situations this year where we've been out of stock. So we keep we keep pressing on and delivering. We had to do a slight price increase earlier this year. I held off until then to do it, but it wasn't very big, and I have no plans to do that in the future, and I don't see any reason why we would need to. So I think we're headed to greener pastures. I don't want to, put the cart before the horse, but I really do think we're starting to level off here with the way things have been.
For as many stores as you're in now, I think you said over 2,000 retail locations or whatever it is, getting into Canada. So that obviously means you're going international as well. What's the next big growth bump? Where's the long-term or the stretch goal for you?
Well, I've been laser focused on our gluten-free line, which
you need gluten for pizza?
Isn't that the craziest thing? Oh man,
Yes.
We could nerd out on gluten here if you want. Oh man. So I've been working on it for several years. I think I've talked about it on this show before, and I'm on revision 5 right now, and I just approved the formula. Our test market completed last night, and super favorable feedback. I'm very excited. I don't want to overpromise anything, but I think it could be a game changer in the gluten-free space. It tastes like pizza, it feels like pizza, it chews like pizza. I'm very, very excited to launch it. So now we're on to the packaging, and I'm going to try and get it out by Black Friday. It's going to be a stretch, but I'm going to do my best for that. And then from there, we're just going to continue the organic growth that we have. I mean, we've been a lean company. We've tried to do it the right way from the beginning. We've borrowed no money. And so, we're going to just try and keep doing that and taking it at the right place and playing cash Tetris as best we can to keep growing and without stunting that growth. And so I'm more interested in maybe next year and versus the long game and just keep growing from here.
Did you get any potential suitors to buy Urban Slicer the past year or two?
No, nothing serious. I mean, I've
Really?
had a couple of people. Yeah, no, that day I'm sure will come. I guess we could, be so fortunate, but nope, I'm not shopping. I'm not looking to sell, and I have not been approached by anyone.
Yeah, I'm
that's serious
surprised. I
about
mean,
it.
there was a tremendous amount of business being transacted here over the last couple of years. There was a lot of big grill brands. I mean, you're not a grill company per se, but you're related into the live fire business without a doubt. And a lot of barbecue guys and grilling guys like to do the high heat pizza stuff. So to me, it seemed to have made sense with all this business being transacted around. Somebody would want to come and potentially partner with you or offer you a check to go right off into the sunset, and they just take it over, what have you. So a little surprising there. Anything new product wise, otherwise that you're looking to bring in before the end of the year, or just the gluten free stuff?
Just the gluten free for now. We're doing a little bit of food service work, so not just product, but we're doing some consulting. So I'm helping restaurants develop recipes, and that's been a good part of our business. But that's our focus for now, just one thing at a time. I have about 10, 11 other ideas, and as things progress, I may put those out to market, but I'm not trying to get like crazy with 200 SKUs here. I really want to focus on what we're good at, and that's where we're going to stay for a little while.
Matt Frampton joining us here on the show from Urban Slicer Pizza. Matt, coming up here, I think the next week is something called the American Royale, or Royal as we talk about it. And this brings us to a unique point in the interview, because I don't know if a lot of people who are either fans of the show or know you because of the pizza stuff realize who Matt Frampton really is, which, of course, is a founding member of the best named barbecue team ever on the face of the earth, Hot Grill on Grill Action. And that's how I knew you originally. You were the barbecue guy with Ryan and Logan and Chris, and you guys, you were on, were you guys on Pitmasters too? Or at least a couple of you guys were on Pitmasters?
Yeah, we're on this. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I originally know
that.
you as Matt the barbecue guy, and now you're Matt the pizza guy, but perhaps there may be a refiring or reemergence of Hot Grill on Grill in Kansas City this year.
That is a fact. So we will have all 4 members of Hot Grill on Grill Action down there, and super excited. So this will be our 10 straight year at the Royal. So we should be getting a banner. Looking forward to that. Right before I came on, I looked it up. I think the first time we came on the show, I came on with Logan and Ryan, and that was October of, I think, 2011.
Wow.
So it's crazy how time has flown, and definitely, I mean, without barbecue, Urban Slicer would be nowhere. It's this is my 17th season competing, and those relationships. I mean, a lot of the guys that compete, they either have or had stores, and we're in a lot of those places, and just having that network and awesome group of friends that accepted pizza into their world has been a huge part of it. And barbecue is definitely in my roots, man. I can't wait to get down to the Royal and compete.
So if you've been going now your 10th year in a row to the Royal, there were years when you guys were really putting in the work, knocking down the competitions, doing pretty well for yourself, and then I assume that fell off at some point. You're still doing the Royal, but you're not out doing 15, 20 events. Have you been gearing up more this year in order to, make a run at it?
Well, I mean, we've had some, we've never won the Royal, but we've had some pretty good success where we at least we're on stage most years. So we definitely want to do that, have a respectable showing. The 4 of us have competed together 3 times leading up to the Royal. just in the last couple of months, just as a little tune-up action. We got a new trailer. We got a new Jambo.
Wow.
And so we're ready to go, I think. But yeah, you're right. The last 6-7 years, it's really tapered off. Logan has a very large business that he runs here in Omaha. Chris is retired. Ryan is a construction executive here in Omaha and super busy. And then I've got what I've got going on. So if we get 4 contests in a year, it's a miracle. We can't do what some of these guys do, but we have been talking about hitting the road in 2025 and giving it a serious run. So I know that seems so far away, but at our age with our kids and everything, we got to plan that stuff. So
yeah, no doubt about it. Matt Frampton talking about giving it a go again here at the American Royal 10 years in a row, which coincides pretty much with the first time Hot Grill on Grill action showed up on the show. Actually, I guess that would be 11 years here now that we're in 2022. Wow, I can't believe it. You can find his pizza stuff at urbanslicerpizza.com. If you are in to pizza of any form or fashion, you have to try his stuff if you haven't already. Be sure to hook up with the sauce and then the red and the white seasonings as well. Matt, always appreciate the time. Good luck at the Royal. And remember, you guys win. Everybody's coming back for a recap that next Tuesday.
Oh my God. I hope that happens, and we'll definitely be here, man. So have an awesome time. It's good catching up.
All right, Matt, there he is. Matt Frampton, Hot Grill on Grill action and Urban Slicer Pizza. Again, the website, urbanslicerpizza.com. And man, what a flash in time again. 11 years ago, they show up as a barbecue competition cooking team and then don't leave it, but have very busy lives. When you have multiple pitmasters on a team, which you really don't see a lot of anymore. I think in the beginning when I was starting to get into it, you had a number of teams that had 4 guys, 5 guys, 6 guys. I remember Whiskey Bent Barbecue seemed to have a cavalcade of ever-changing lineups. Chad was always the main guy, but there were a number of people that would roll. It was like an entourage with some of these guys. And all of a sudden it started to weed itself out a little bit, and there were husband and wife teams, but then all of a sudden there were a lot of single dudes just going out and doing a whole contest by themselves. In fact, some of the best guys out there right now are doing it mostly as a single unit team and doing very well. Maybe that's what it takes at this point, but Ryan and the guys and Matt and Logan and Chris all looking to change the game up here and grab a American Royal win if their turn-ins and luck should have it, and we wish them nothing but success. All right, we have Daniel Vaughn from Texas Monthly in the green room ready to come on and talk a little barbecue. So stay tuned for that. I will talk to you about Big Papa Smokers, the one-stop online shop for all things barbecue. A curated selection of only the best outdoor cooking and grilling supplies, getting you on the path to better barbecue results in no time. Everything at Big Papa Smokers, Pitmaster approved by Sterling Big Papa Ball himself, from the award-winning rubs and sauces to the American-made grills and smokers. Big Papa Smokers has everything you need to be a better outdoor cook. 13 perfectly balanced flavors on the rubs and seasoning sides, transforming ordinary meals into extraordinary. Whether you're cooking to impress judges or grilling for your family and friends, Big Papa Smokers award-winning rubs and seasonings don't disappoint. Also, they own Granny's barbecue sauce, so if you're looking for something new that will please everybody, it's a little different than what's currently out there. Granny's traditional yet powerful flavor reminds us of why we fell in love with barbecue in the first place. And aside from the rubs and the sauces, they're selling cookers. Are you looking for a versatile smoker that's easy to use? Check out that Mac 2-Star General Pellet Cooker. Big Papa Smokers, the exclusive Mac dealer, even offering special packages. Not a fan of pellet smokers? Take a look at that Old Hickory Ace BP. It's the only charcoal smoker that Big Papa trusts on his competition trailer. Not sure what grill you need? Call him and ask questions. 877-828-0727. That's 877-828-0727. Or shop their website at bigpapasmokers.com. That's BIGPOPPA smokers.com. We're back with Daniel Vaughn right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Let's get back to a guy who has more experience giving you his opinion than he actually has cooking. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
I want to thank Matt Frampton for joining us last segment. This portion being brought to you by Smithfield.com. Head on over there for recipes and tips and tricks from well-known live-fire cooks like Darren Wart, Jess Pryles, and Childs Cridlin with mouth-watering flavor and no artificial ingredients. Smithfield Fresh Pork is quite simply some of the finest pork money can buy and is the trusted choice of top cooks for use at competitions and at home. That's Smithfield.com. Coming out of the bullpen tonight is the barbecue editor for Texas Monthly Magazine. You also see him on this show once a quarter, where we talk about various barbecue topics and the Texas world in general. We race to the hotline and welcome back friend of the show, Daniel Vaughn. Hey, Daniel.
Greg, how are you?
I'm absolutely fabulous. Appreciate you making time for the show here during your quarterly visit. We have plenty of stuff to talk about here, not the least of which, if I might start here, because one of the things the Texas Monthly is most well known for is this top 50 barbecue list that you put out. Last week, I have a guy you might not know, Robert Moss, on the show during his monthly segment. He announces that within the next week or so, Southern Living is going to be releasing their top 50 barbecue joints list. You have any guesses on how many Texas spots will be making their list?
Not enough. I mean, if Robert was honest, I think it'd have to be at least 30 of the 50.
More than half. Wow, I like it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, first off, Texas is a huge state. We've got a lot of incredible barbecue here. I've talked to Robert in the past that I think it would just make more sense if he'd talk to his editors and let him skip Texas. Just let us do Texas at Texas Monthly and give the rest of the folks in the South some shine at Southern Living Magazine. But he reminds me that part of the readership for Southern Living is in Texas, so they've got to cover it, whether I suggest it or not.
I'm not here to cast aspersion on what considers the South or what regulates the South, but in his explanation last week, he said that Kentucky and West Virginia, both states that border Ohio, are in the Southern Living diaphragm of what is considered the South. What do you consider the South?
What do I consider?
And is it
South?
Kentucky and West Virginia?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you were on the South side in the Civil War, you pretty much were in the South, and still are. But yeah, I mean, there are obvious states. Texas is a tough one though. It's like East Texas feels a whole lot like the Deep South. West Texas doesn't feel anything like it. So we are the South here in Texas. We're the Southwest as well. And then, man, you get up into Amarillo, and I mean, that's further north than Oklahoma City.
It's an interesting topic. Aside from COVID prohibiting it, Robert makes the claim that they're producing a list every year. Could Texas Monthly benefit from increasing their release to every 24 months or 12 months, considering how quickly things change these days?
Things do change quickly, but we have a huge team of folks that we put together to do our top 50 list, and because of that, it takes us about 6 months to put it together. And if we were to do it every year, then like half of the time, that many people would be working on the top 50 barbecue list. I think too that things do change quickly, but I don't think they change that quickly. I don't think there's so much turnover that you can expect over from a year to year basis. I mean, for me too, just having that 4-year gap is helpful in going through in actually reaching the target that we set for ourselves, which is to look at all of these places fresh every time. And I think if you were to do it every year, it's just too easy to bring in your most recent visit there that happened a year earlier and bring that into your rankings. So we really do think that separation is useful. And then I do put out a list that we have fewer people at Texas Monthly working on every 2 years, in the 2 years in between our top 50, which is the 25 best new barbecue joint list. And so that helps us cover a lot of the new stuff that's happening, a lot of the new places that have opened. So we give them a little bit of shine that way.
When we were talking about some topics to hit and chat about this evening, you'd mentioned that there were a number of barbecue joints that are closing, and that means business isn't sustainable in a state that has always been linked to sustaining as many barbecue restaurants that decided they wanted to give it a go. How involved of a problem is this?
Well, it seems to be a lot of similar type places are the ones that are closing. And by similar type, I mean, the ones that keep opening up tend to be like weekend only or maybe 3 day a week, generally serving out of a food truck of some sort or a temporary establishment, right? Not a brick and mortar, not a open all week long or even 5 or 6 days. And so these are the places that I'm noticing are closing as well. So we've had several of these closures. I've been tracking them over the last year. We've had quite a few here in the last 6 months or so. And, I don't know if it's as much a symptom of, I don't know, the saturation of the barbecue market, or just simply that you've got a bunch of folks who took on second jobs, many who didn't quit their day job to do something that's exhausting, and they've just simply gotten exhausted of it all. You add in like all the high prices of meat that we're still seeing, and the sustained high prices, and it really just at the end of the day, when you're going through all that work and you're seeing probably so little profit come in, it is probably tough to justify all that hard work.
So, as you had just mentioned, the sustained high prices of meat, one of the talking points on this show for the past number of weeks, and it seems there's a portion of the listening audience that has had enough of this kind of talk, but the other half seems to be very involved with it and can't get enough of it. It's the finished cost of brisket and where it's currently living. A lot of places are $35 a pound and perhaps trending up. And maybe, although I didn't get a chance to talk to him because we ran through a little bit of a time zone issue in the first hour, I was going to have Leonard Botello on from Truth BBQ, and I thought on a couple different social media posts that I saw from him, there was a number $49. I don't know if that's what his cost of brisket per pound is, but I saw that on a chalkboard behind him in a few different pictures. I guess, is that something that you could confirm through any of your experience? And then getting back to the sustained 35 and potentially creeping up, where do you see that stopping?
If Truth BBQ's at $49 a pound, that would be news to me. And there's a place that opened up here in Dallas recently that is serving Wagyu brisket on the regular, and they are in a very pricey part of town. It's called the Douglas, and they serve really good barbecue, but it's also $44 a pound for brisket. As far as I know, that's the most expensive place you can get it in Texas anyway. And so, yeah, I'll go back and look at Truth BBQ, but I don't think they've reached those heights yet of $49 a pound. As you said, reaching $30 a pound is not unusual these days, even in the mid 30s. But today I just had a sneak peek at HEB grocery store that just opened up here. Most of the new HEBs now in Texas have a True Texas barbecue within them. Now we're talking the buying power of a major, grocery chain. And they have $22 a pound brisket. Now they're serving choice brisket. It's still an all natural brisket, but they're serving a choice all natural brisket and charging $22 a pound for it. So, when you've got that sort of buying power, you can get back down to those more reasonable sounding prices. But when you're just your everyday Joe who's out there buying brisket by a few cases here and there, you don't have any sort of that negotiating power.
Tim McKeska was on the show last week, and he had mentioned that it's not necessarily the meat cost that's the biggest driver here of why brisket is living at $35 a pound, but it's more inflation or the CPI index, which is just launched into the stratosphere. Is that something that you agree with as well?
To a certain degree, yeah. I mean, costs have gone up everywhere, but I think people really focus on the price of brisket because that's an easy thing to gauge for Texas barbecue joints, and now that like everybody in the world loves brisket, easy to gauge, around the country and worldwide. But one of the things that is often left out in that is that the brisket prices over, say 3-4 years ago, those were artificially low because you could charge a higher price than what was necessary to charge to make a profit for things like pork and turkey, chicken, sausage, these other items that were on the menu. You could make your money in those items and charge less money or a less profitable price for brisket. And now that's just not the case anymore because the prices for all of those things have gone up. The prices for the sides, prices for all those ingredients have gone up. So you can no longer hide that high cost of the brisket elsewhere in your menu. You just have to charge for it because you've got to charge that. You're paying higher prices for all the other stuff without raising those prices exorbitantly.
That's certainly an interesting insight and something that I hadn't even thought about. Nobody's mentioned it. So extremely great insight from one Daniel Vaughn, of course, from Texas Monthly, TMBBQ.com, and he's the barbecue editor over there, of course. So let's switch it up for the rest of the segment here. Talk about cookers. When one thinks of Texas barbecue specifically, you think of those huge offset cookers, and I imagine if you don't have one of those somewhere on your property as a restaurant operator, your street cred goes right out the window. Does history show that these have always been the cooker of choice?
Well, does history show? I mean, if you were to talk to somebody about what traditional Texas barbecue is, I'm sure they would point to a steel offset smoker as what they would consider the vessel that you would make traditional Texas barbecue from, and it would be brisket as that would be coming out of it as your most traditional thing. And while the idea of cooking with wood and cooking indirectly with wood even goes back a long, long way in Texas, a century in Texas. The steel offset smoker is quite a bit younger. And I did some really in-depth research trying to find, really trying to pin down when it happened. You hear these stories about oil field workers who in the bust of the 80s didn't have anything to do, had a lot of extra material around and had welding skills. And so they put together these smokers. And that sounds like, a good enough story, but is that really the way it happened? And I'm always curious about things like that, trying to actually go back and prove the way things happen, and not just try and repeat the stories that are told, right? And so going back and doing the research, that is the way it happened. And that is pretty much the timeline. And it wasn't until the early 1980s, like 1983, really 1982 and 83, when you first started seeing steel offset smokers being marketed to the public, both as backyard cookers and as more professional size cookers. In fact, like the first image I could find of one was from 1978, and it would be even hard to recognize now because of the shape of it, because the shape these days has been so regularized by the use of propane tanks, so that shape, that oblong cylinder with the rounded ends, is what we so associate now with what a Texas style cooker looks like because of the propane tanks and reusing them. But that image, even from 1978, which that's when I was born, so that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah,
was it hardly looked like what you would recognize as a steel offset smoker these days.
So pre 1978, what was the favorite way of making barbecue, or the most accepted way?
It would be in a brick smoker, where you were just going to be either cooking directly or you were going to build a fire off to the side. It didn't have like a separated firebox. and then places like even today, you can go to places like a Smitty's Market or a Kreitz Market in Lockhart, Texas, and see where instead of a firebox built next to the brick pit, it's really just an opening in the side of that brick cooker, and then a fire built, right next to that opening. So that's really the way it was done. And it wasn't really until like the 1920s and 30s to where it was even normalized to have that brick style of smoker. There were even some upstart places like the food trucks of today were the barbecue shacks of yesteryear, right? And so it was still pretty normal for a lot of those places to just have a trench out back, have a hole in the ground out back where they were cooking wood down to coals and cooking directly over that. And so that really is the oldest style of Texas style barbecue, is cooking directly over those coals.
Do you see a time in the future where offset smokers would fall out of favor to something else?
I don't really see it because, barbecue is a hard thing to produce. It takes a lot of time, takes a lot of effort, takes specialized equipment and all that. But there's no denying that using an offset smoker and being able to just deal with a fire instead of dealing with a direct heat cooker and dealing with, having to actually deal with fat dripping down into the fire, constantly flipping meat, mopping meat. It's a much more active process, much more difficult. And really just much easier to screw up than cooking meat in that, through the indirect heat in an offset smoker like that. So I don't really see the offset smoker going away. And in fact, we're in the midst of quite a resurgence of it, and where we saw so many rotisserie cookers come in, and they're kind of falling by the wayside in favor of the offset smoker. And the fact that they're portable, they're not easily portable. Like not, some of them are trailer mounted. You can just put on the back of your truck, but you can haul them on a trailer. You can't do that to a brick pit. You got to build that thing in place.
No names, please. Are there a number of barbecue joints in Texas faking it? In other words, is there some kind of a gas assist to help keep the right temperatures in order to not have to stay up all night and pitch sticks?
I don't know. I mean, there are a few of the old brick pits out there that I've seen like gas inputs to for like a little flame to keep things going, but it wouldn't be enough. It's really to start the fire. It wouldn't be enough to keep things hot. If you've got a rotisserie, then almost certainly, if you've got like an Old Hickory or a Southern Pride, then you've certainly got a gas input there, and you're able to have both gas heat and wood heat. But I don't really know of anybody who's really got a gas or electric heating element in their offset cooker. No.
That's something that would probably make the rounds pretty quick. You piss off an employee that knows, then the first thing they do after they get shit canned is say, oh, well, so-and-so's barbecue place is actually using a heating element or whatever. They're passing it off as this, but it's really this.
Yeah, but then, you also would have to then point out the fact that that a lot of the great barbecue joints in Texas use an electric heating element to finish off their briskets. It's just, it's called a warmer. But they also, at a lot of the places, they spend all night in that warmer.
Yeah.
And that's not run by, wood heat. That is plugged in. It's a moisture rich environment for some of them. And it is a key part of the, cooking process for a lot of folks.
Daniel, anything you'd like to promote or reveal here before I let you go this evening?
Well, I mean, we've got our first Texas Monthly Barbecue Fest in Lockhart, Texas, coming up in the first weekend of November. And for the first time ever, we have a Barbecue World's Fair that will be taking over the square in Lockhart, right in the shadow of the beautiful Caldwell County Courthouse. And that is open to all, no ticket required to come to that Saturday event. And then we still have general admission tickets left for the Sunday event, where I think the 45th of the top 50 barbecue joints just signed on to that. So it's going to be our biggest one ever.
All right. If you want more information, go to the website, TMBBQ.com. Read what Daniel's writing. He is a absolute master at the written word and is always well-researched, and enjoy reading what he does. And you can find him once a quarter right here on the show, which I believe the next time we'll be closing out 2022 and looking ahead here to 2023. Daniel, always appreciate the time. Thanks so much for coming on.
Great talking with you. Thank you.
That's Daniel Vaughn right there. Again, the website, TMBBQ.com, if you aren't already visiting, but I'm sure most of us are visiting fairly frequently. Interesting on the offset cooker. Look, I'm guilty when I'm talking to people about barbecue and they don't really know about it. I don't just say offset. Instinctively, I say, like a Texas offset. Oh, yeah, that. But I'll say offset to those of us within, but they don't know. I always drop in the Texas offset just to get a little bit more recognition to that. Before we wrap the show here, let me talk to you about Vortic Watch. Back in the day, watches were made to be worn on the wrist. In the pocket. After World War II, wristwatches came into vogue, and the pocket watch quickly became an afterthought, finding their way into sock drawers and scrap heaps. Quite simply a tragedy. Enter Vortic Watch Company, helping bridge the gap between America's storied watch manufacturing past and taking it to the present day, where wristwatches are finding incredible popularity. Here's the coolest part. Each watch that Vortic makes is unique and one of a kind. Like this one. Nobody else has a watch just like this. This is mine. Vortic, founded on the motto that America wasn't assembled, it was built. Check out VorticWatches.com. That's VorticWatches.com. We're back to wrap the show right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Whole packers, full racks, legs and thighs, injecting butts. If you've never heard this before, you might think you found the best XXX show ever. Let's get back to the most homoerotic host out there today, Craig Rimpey.
And we thank Daniel Vaughn for joining us last segment, talking about the competing top 50 barbecue list from Southern Living. Competing. That should be due out maybe in the next week or so keep an eye out over it. Robert's segment, also Daniel and I talked about brisket pricing, and that pretty much is going to bring that to a close. Well, we'll probably have one more segment with Leonard Botello from Truth BBQ, but after that. And the only reason I mentioned $49 a pound, because there were some pictures that I thought said $49 a pound. I was set to ask him that. But obviously that didn't work out too well in the first hour, but we will remedy that situation. Then we learned all about the big steel offset cookers that is now widely known as being the Texas-style cooker for barbecue, and specifically brisket coming out of those. All the way back in the first hour, it was me all hour long, whether you liked it or not, talking about the absolutely fabulous Saturday this past at the Hartville Hardware 2022 Grillfest, breaking it all down for you ad nauseum. We were supposed to have a visit with Leonard Botello from Truth BBQ, but there was a time zone mix-up, so we didn't get to fit him in. But I will be picking back up with the PR person to get new dates in, and I would imagine we'll have him here within the month, if not sooner than that. Second hour, Matt Frampton from Urban Slicer Pizza, urbanslicerpizza.com, the website. The products are great. Give them a try. And the refiring for the 10th year in a row of Hot Grill on Grill action, heading down to the American Royal next weekend and trying their hand at bringing back a GC. So we'll see how that works out. So we wish Matt and Ryan, Logan, and Chris all good luck there on the team. Bring it back for Nebraska, everybody. Omaha! Omaha! And closing now, Daniel Vaughn from Texas Monthly, the barbecue editor over there, TMBBQ.com, his website. Everything will be revealed in podcast on Wednesday, hour number 1, and hour number 2 on Thursday. Don't forget the Best Moments show on Friday as well. Subscribe to the podcast feed. Big show planned for you next week. Of course, as I had mentioned, we got the Barbecue Guest Hall of Fame embedded correspondence segment. So how do I always leave you? September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. And until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe, saying bye-bye.
Hey, what's up? This is JM, host of the Celebrity Grill podcast on iTunes, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Network. All barbecue and grilling, all the time.